The battle is ending. The air, thick with the copper stench of blood and the screams of the dying, begins to quiet. You are a warrior, your shield splintered, your arm a ruin of fire and pain. You look up through the swirling mist and see her. She descends on a winged steed, a figure of impossible light and terror, a Valkyrie. The skalds sing of this moment. They say she comes for the worthy, to lift them from the mud and carry them to the golden halls. But then you see her spear, and it is not pointing to the heavens. It is pointing at you, and in her eyes you do not see salvation. You see a judgment. You have been chosen, not to be saved, but to be slain. We have been told a story, a glorious story of beautiful shield maidens, Odin's servants, who swoop down upon the fields of slaughter to choose the greatest mortal heroes for a place of honor in Valhalla. They are the angels of the Norse battlefield, a promise of eternal glory for a worthy death. But this is only half the story. It is the golden lie, woven to hide a much darker and more terrifying purpose. The oldest sagas, the darkest poems, they don't call them rescuers. They call them Valkyria, choosers of the slain, a title that holds a chilling ambiguity. They don't just find the fallen, they choose them. So the riddle we must solve today is not who the Valkyries were, but what they were truly doing on those battlefields. Why did the Norse, who revered these beings, also whisper that they were weavers of war, corpse goddesses who could decide a battle's outcome not by strengthening an army, but by ensuring its greatest hero fell? To understand their true purpose, you must first understand the place they served. Valhalla. Imagine it, a hall so vast its rafters are spears, its roof is made of golden shields. Every night, you feast on a boar that magically regenerates. You drink endless mead from the udders of a cosmic goat. Every day you rise, take up your arms, and fight to the death against your comrades on the plains of Asgard, only to be resurrected, whole and hale by nightfall. It is the ultimate warrior's paradise, a perfect afterlife, designed to attract the most ferocious, the most skilled, the most death-defying warriors in the world of men. It was the greatest recruitment poster in human history, and it worked. An entire culture oriented its values around the pursuit of a glorious death, all for a chance to win a seat at Odin's table. But here is the question no one asks: why? Why would the Allfather, the wisest of the gods, need to bribe mortals with an eternity of war and drink? What cosmic threat was so great that he needed to amass the largest army of the dead the cosmos had ever seen? The answer lay in Odin's own Ed, for he had seen the end. He had sacrificed his own eye for a drink from the well of Mimir, the well of all knowledge, and in its depths he saw a vision of the coming twilight, Ragnarok. A final, one-winnable war where the sun would be devoured, the stars would fall from the sky, and the gods themselves would die. He saw the great wolf Fenrir breaking his chains. He saw the world serpent Jörmungandr rising from the sea to poison the air. And he saw himself, the king of Asgard, devoured by the wolf. The prophecy was absolute. The doom was certain. And in that moment, Odin was no longer a king. He was a general staring at a map of his own inevitable defeat. Valhalla was not a paradise. It was a barracks. The Einherjar, his honored dead, were not guests. They were conscripts. It was all a desperate, defiant gamble against a fate that had already been written. This desperate need changes everything. It reframes the role of the Valkyrie from a simple psychopomp, a guide for souls, to something far more strategic, far more ruthless. In the oldest poems, the Valkyries are not just beautiful women in shining armor. They are terrifying, supernatural figures entwined with the very fabric of fate itself. There is a poem, the Darathal Yod, that pulls back the veil. In it, 12 Valkyries are seen before a battle, not sharpening swords, but at a loom, and they are not weaving with thread. Their weights are the severed heads of men. Their shuttles are blood-soaked arrows. Their loom is strung with human entrails. They are weaving the tapestry of the coming slaughter, deciding who will live and who will die, cackling as they weave the fate of kings. This is not a rescue mission. This is orchestration. They are not just awaiting the outcome of the battle. They are creating it. They are agents of a god who cannot afford to leave the quality of his army to chance. Mortal combat is chaotic. A great hero could be felled by a stray arrow, a lucky spear thrust from a lesser man. That is an unacceptable risk for the All-Father. He needed a guarantee of quality. He needed auditors on the battlefield. Imagine you are one of Odin's choosers. You are watching a battle unfold below. You are not looking for the man fighting hardest. You are looking for potential. You see a young warrior, a prodigy, whose skill is so profound he could one day become a king and unite the clans. He could live another 50 years and die peacefully in his bed. To his people, that is a blessing. To Odin, it is a catastrophic waste of a prime asset. That warrior's skill is needed now, in the barracks of Valhalla, to train for the final battle. His long life, his mortal glory, the fate of his kingdom, it is all utterly irrelevant compared to the needs of the gods. And so, you descend. You whisper a weakness into his opponent's ear. You guide a fatal spear. You ensure that his glorious potential is harvested for Odin's army before it can be spent on the meaningless affairs of men. The choice was made. His destiny was not ended by an enemy, it was warriuted by a god. This is the true dark purpose of the Valkyrie. They were not merely collectors of the worthy dead. They were agents of cosmic triage. They were the instruments of a desperate king's obsession, culling the herds of humanity to find the stock worthy of fighting in his final doomed war. They could grant a warrior unnatural battle fury, making him an unstoppable force, only to withdraw that protection at the perfect moment, ensuring his death was spectacular enough to be worthy of song, and therefore worthy of Odin. They could appear to a chieftain in a dream the night before a battle, showing him a vision of his seat in Valhalla, guaranteeing he would fight with no regard for his own life, ensuring his swift entry into the Einherjar. They weren't saving heroes from death, they were delivering them to it. The glory of Valhalla, the promise of the Valkyrie, it was all a divine manipulation, a necessary deception to fuel a war machine against the dying of the light. They were Odin's most effective weapon, not because they fought, but because they understood the brutal arithmetic of fate. They knew that a single hero, dying at the peak of his power, was worth more to Asgard's war effort than a living king who would slowly grow old and weak. So when you picture the Valkyrie now, do not picture an angel of mercy. Picture an auditor, clipboard in hand, assessing souls on the battlefield. Picture a divine harvester, separating the wheat from the chaff with the point of a spear. They were the ultimate expression of Odin's tragedy, a god so haunted by the future that he was willing to sacrifice the present of countless mortals just to rage for one more day against the coming darkness. This story echoes through eternity because it reveals a chilling, universal truth. It shows us that even the gods can be slaves to fear. It reminds us that the grandest designs, the most epic struggles, are often paid for with the lives of individuals who believe they are fighting for their own glory, when they are merely pawns in a much older, much larger game. And it leaves us with one final haunting thought, that the promise of heaven can be the most effective tool to lead a person to their slaughter. The angel who comes for you on your darkest day might not be there to lift you up. She might be there to make sure you fall.